We're in it. Content creation begins now. Welcome to another episode of the Oak and Rock Fatherhood. I'm your host, Zachary Small, joined by co-host Anthony Migliorino. Today, we're talking about introverted children, but before we do that, again, if you like what we're putting out, make sure you like, subscribe, drop a comment below to let us know how we're doing, where we can improve, or if there's anything or any topic you want covered that we haven't already hit, check the photo library or the video library before you ask. We've dropped quite a few, but if there is one we missed, please drop it down there. We're looking to cover everything and anything that can possibly be covered because we want to help families win in every situation. But today we're talking about introverts. Anthony, were you an introverted child?
Was I introverted? Oh man, come on, bro. Why you gotta start out like this?
Everyone, I'm realizing I'm just
Let's.
going to start out with a direct question to you and put you in the hot seat because it keeps it off me.
Um, I mean, I would say to a degree I was, but and also I loved having my friends. I grew up obviously a different time, right? There were kids actually played outside. You enjoyed doing things together. Everything wasn't super controlled, but no, I did. Yeah, I definitely enjoyed being by myself as a child. I I had no problem being like keeping myself busy by myself. Right, I was always into Legos and things like that, and I'd always would love to color and draw. Right, so I think part of that is having a good imagination, and I also think that part of that is, we see introverted kids as maybe there's something wrong with them. They don't fit in. I see it a little bit different sometimes, right? I see it as a kid who is comfortable being by himself, who's actually more creative than maybe an extrovert. And to be able to sit down and spend time in your own mind, in your own thoughts, with it being positive, right? With it being productive or actually you're entertaining yourself. I think that's a really good skill that a lot of kids lack these days.
I'm glad you addressed the perception of introversion because I do think there is a negative connotation. Like if your kid is not the one that's up and running around, there's something wrong with them. They're not social. They're not going to do well. And I also see it differently. I view it from the lens of parents who, I'm not going to say trophy kids. It's not that they're saying that they want to have the trophy child out there winning all the championships, but they want their kid to be almost performing to a standard that brings on the recognition that, hey, everything's okay in the home. And if your kid's quiet, well, what's wrong with them? Are they hiding something? Do they have a mental disorder? That's a big hot topic now. Do they have mental health issues? Why does your kid want to do anything? And I've had to explain a few times, like, my son is very much, my daughter's very social. My son is more like me. I'm an, you put me in any situation, you want me to go on stage, I'll go on stage, I'll talk to anybody. You want me to perform, I'll perform. I'm going to go play football. I'm going to go out there with everybody. I'm going to put on, I don't care who's watching. But I do also enjoy sitting and just writing and just I'll lose myself in a book for hours and just sit. I just want to be left alone. I'm very content with nothing happening at the same time. And my son's a lot like that. And there are times where we'll be at a party or something and, they've got dance music on upstairs, but you'll find him downstairs in the corner with a book. And oftentimes I'll see family members, well, what's wrong? Is he okay? I'm like, he's totally fine. Why does he have to be doing something for you to think that he's okay? And so I wonder if there's a social element to this that leads us to misconstruing introversion with something wrong. Do you think there is? Because I think there is.
Yeah, no, I definitely do. I think a lot of it comes from the parents. So, when we think of introverted kids, we think that they're quiet, they're lonely, they might be depressed. But there is a difference between a kid being, like I said before, comfortable doing what they love to do, and they don't need the attention from the outside world. And then you have a parent who's disconnected from their kid, and their kid is quiet with them. Their kid doesn't share things with them. So now they have this negative attachment of being introverted, right? They see their kid, oh, my kid's just introverted. So it's almost to me, it's almost like an excuse that you make because you don't want to deal with the issue, right? Oh, my kid's introverted. I don't need to make more time for him. I don't need to learn how to connect with him, right? He's just different from other kids. And I would guarantee you, if you took the time to connect and really enjoy spending time with your kid, you would see how amazing they were, right? Or he or she was. You would see that they're full of life, that they get excited just like us. They want to do, they want to go out and do cool things, but they also, there's a part of them where they just enjoy being quiet, enjoy spending that inner peaceful mindfulness, right? That so many people miss that nowadays. Adults, they can't just sit and do nothing for 10 minutes, right? They always have to be occupied with the TV, with the phone, with other people are doing. They're scrolling social media to see what other people are doing with their lives. They can't just sit quiet for 10 minutes and enjoy that time. So I do think it's a big problem with parents being disconnected, as opposed to a problem that the child may be having.
You brought up an interesting point too, especially when the adult is coming from the stimulation that's constantly fed to them, the constant updates, as we evolved. So I'm 34. My feet are in both lands. I can do this. I can use tech. I can live and thrive here. We can connect and great content. I make a lot of money from the cell phone. I also had to be in when the streetlights came on. I also lived outside. I wasn't allowed in the house if the sun was out. So I understood the importance of the physical world. A lot of adults and a lot of my peers, I've seen them constantly. I mean, they're on Facebook more than me. I'm actually never on Facebook. Let's just say social media. They're on social media more than me, and they're not getting any. Like I get paid to be on social media. They're on social media just scrolling. I don't even know, consuming, looking, stimulating. And when they see downtime, they see nothing going on. It's almost like a slight panic gets in. So like, oh, we got to do something next. That adult almost can't speak the language the child needs. They think they've got to bring more stimulation to the child, where the child is speaking a totally different language. They're content where they are. And so, as you were saying, for a father to go to that level, the father has to learn the language of his children. He's got to go into their world. He's got to speak to them in their tongue. And that is for somebody that is lost in a book, somebody that enjoys solitude, silence. I cannot tell you how many times my son has just walked next to me, sat down, not said a word, cracked open his book and just started reading. And I'm sitting there and I'm reading. And I'm never like, I might say something of acknowledgement. Oh, hey, bud. Good book? Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah, me too. And then an hour goes by. And then nothing else is said. And I don't have discomfort with that. I don't think I'm missing an opportunity. Sometimes as parents, we want to get it right so bad that when the child's quiet, we think we need to fill that space. What's the right thing to say? And you and I have had this discussion. In some situations, yeah, you're trying to connect to get that long ass car ride. And you're like, well, I don't want to be quiet the whole time, but what do I say to this kid? What's the best thing? What does he need to hear? And you kind of like, you're swimming up here and you're like, oh, it's been too long since I've spoken. You like girls? And like something just comes out to get the conversation going, but while those times do exist, I think more often than not, a parent needs distraction-free solitude with that child if they're an introverted kid, and just to enjoy the company and maybe have that quieter conversation on what they want to talk about. And so I think there is a perception there that while we think, quiet is negative, non-stimulation is negative, there's also a physiological response. These adults who can't relate to their kids can't relate because they're hooked on these updates they're getting all the time. And unfortunately, those updates are preventing that parent from giving a good upbringing to their kid.
Yeah. It's when when your child is quiet, or let's say your child is loud, right? So the exact opposite, obviously, of introvert is extrovert. And we have kids, especially young boys, who are out of control, who or perceived as being out of control. And it's weird when you think about it, right? So you have one group of young boys who will be out of control, and they just want to medicate them and keep them quiet. And then on the other end, you'll have a group of young boys who are to themselves, quiet, and don't want to interact, and they want to try to fix them. So, and it wasn't like this when I was a kid. So I'm just trying to think about this. Like, what if you're a young boy nowadays in 2022? Where the hell do you go? How do you know if you're not fucked up or if you are, right? Because the parents obviously are missing this signal. They're not. I would say they're not really examining what's going on, right? They're just being reactive. They see a situation and they're trying to fix it, as opposed to accept it, right? The greatest thing you can do is accept your kid for who they are, and allow that to flourish and grow. And I'm not saying if your kid's depressed, leave him be. I'm saying if he's quiet and he enjoys his time to himself, encourage that. If he's outspoken and wild and likes to smash it, encourage that in a healthy way, right? Allow it to develop and grow because it is who he is. And this is even true with daughters, right? A lot of times we like to put kids in a box and we make them conform to what we want and make them be who we want. And a lot of that is controlled through fear. A lot of that is right. We don't want to see what's on the other side because maybe because we're going to be judged as a parent, or that we might think not even judged from others, we're judging ourselves, right? We think that we're doing a bad job because the actions and the behaviors of our kids are not aligning with what is mainstream. So I definitely think that everything there's context and everything. There's different ages. There's different behaviors between boys and girls. But to me, one key element or one key fundamental element is to not let fear control your decision making, right? To not always jump to conclusions that something's wrong and something needs to be fixed. Sometimes it's just a matter of acceptance and easing in to what's going on instead of always trying to, combat it and attack the problem.
And I think there are a lot of parents too, especially those who are listening to us. If they're tuned into Oak and Rock, they're looking to improve upon their parenting. And so we would be it would be a mistake to not address this. Even though you're looking to be a better parent, even though you're looking to be more intentional with your parenting, don't be in a constant state of self-evaluation to where you're constantly thinking you need to be doing something better than what you're doing. A lot of times, just exist with your kid. The song Sounds of Silence. I was just saying, I'd sit with my son. If people were to judge me when I'm coaching him in baseball, they'd be like, that kid is, of course, extra. I mean, the kid pitches, he'll play any position, he runs around, he'll be in the middle of the field, whatever you want to do, he's there with his team. And then you go home, and then he'll grab a book and go sit in a hammock and lay there and not say a word to anybody. And then you look at him and you're like, oh, that kid must be depressed. We're slapping labels and all sorts. We're constantly in the same day. You can go through 9 different labels. You're gonna have 15 different medical, mental health disorders show themselves. It's just a kid being a kid. But I do wonder if there is an element to the sex or the gender of the child. So I said, my daughter's more social. My son, it's higher. It's very context specific. Like if you were to meet him, he might not say like, "Hey, nice to meet you, Mr. Migliorino." Cool, and then maybe he'll say like taxation theft, talk to me about crypto. But then if I give you, "Hey man, I gotta go do something. Here's my glove, a ball," and you play catch with him, he will talk until your ears fall off because he's in an element that's where he likes to speak. And then you put the ball away, you might not hear from the rest of the day. So I'm wondering with your son, your daughters, if you saw the same thing, or if they both just operated the same way, or if there was a difference between the girls and the boy.
No, I think I don't know if it's so much difference between boys and girls. I would say that each child is different. I know with my three, I would say what more impacts their personality, their behavior, if they're introverted or extroverted, is the actions of the parent as they're being raised, right? The environment. I truly believe that environment is more impactful than our genetic makeup, right? There's things that are going to influence us so much more in the environment than our DNA passed down from our parents. And we see this, right? Depending on geographically where you live. We even see this, sometimes parents say, oh, well, one child's so much different from the other. Well, you have to think that you were so much different, right? When each child was raised. So, and I know that's true for me. Like my oldest daughter is maybe a little bit more extroverted. Well, I'm sorry, she's a little bit more, yeah, extroverted. Like she's more social. She talks a lot. She enjoys being out. She's more of a people person. Where my middle daughter, she's more of an introvert, right? She can sit in her room and work on her website and social media and read books all day. She doesn't even need to come out, right? And she enjoys that. Um, Same thing with my son. My son's a little bit of both, right? He can go out on the cross field and be a maniac, or go in the gym and be a maniac, and then he can come home and he can go and play video games for 2 hours and not say a word. So I definitely think a lot of what we see in our kids, the behaviors, how they're shaped, right? We're shaping and molding them. And a lot of it has to do with our parenting techniques, our parenting styles. Um, they're going to be different, right? Based on how we parent them. I think what's more important is just to have universal principles, right? To teach our kids to accept themselves, no matter what their interests are, no matter how they respond, no matter how they behave, just to teach them to accept themselves. Like this is who they are. They don't have a choice. They are who they are, and all we can do is continue to grow and expand on that and improve. I think, like you said, when you label kids, it's really detrimental to their growth, and that's why you see the 30-year-old man who can't, when failure to launch, right? He can't get out of his parents' basement. He has no direction in life. You see the 35-year-old lady who never had kids and who never got married because there was no direction in the life. Um, so I think we need to understand that your kids having acceptance of who they are and to drill that or just really promote that into their minds when they're younger. It doesn't matter extroverted or introverted, right? It's who they are, but it's also who they're gonna become. I think that's the most important, right? That's the most important element to parenting is to see your kids succeed and actually create a life of meaning and fulfillment.
And I think that was actually a great point to bring up the role the parent plays on their praise. Again, if we think that introversion is a negative, you're not going to send many compliments if your kid does something that's introverted. They do something that's alone. Whereas if you have two kids and one of them is the baseball player, is the cheerleader, is whatever, and they're constantly out in the limelight, and you're always good job this, good job that. Oh, it was great seeing you do blah blah blah, but you never recognize the other child. You're setting them up to either go down that path where introversion does lead to the depressing side of things and more negative. They do go down that path because they're like, mom and dad, I want to sit and read and live my imagination, and I'm very happy here, but my parents don't love me for that. That is a
Yeah,
path that they can go down. And so it's important we understand, and it's interesting because, and I'm trying to use my kids because it's real world. My daughter doesn't really like to read. My son does, but she's very confident with cheerleading and gymnastics. So as much as I talk about her cheer and her gymnastics and that stuff, I'll also recognize she's into art. I'll recognize just her by herself playing with her toys. You guys, people have probably noticed, but I constantly have this bracelet on. She made me this little bracelet. It's like she likes to make little jewelry and trinkets. And I'm always like, this is awesome. I was like, this is the kind of stuff you see in stores. That's amazing. My son, always, I put a lot on social media. Man, you can read books so well and you retain the information. That's impressive. I constantly like, dude, you can read better than I was like, that's a cool skill that you have. And just I look for reasons, the highs, the lows, the public, the private. I try to keep a balance on my recognition of these things because I don't ever want them to think like I value one more. I don't value his ability to throw a baseball anymore than his ability to read fast. I don't value her work on that beam more or less than I value her work building her little jewelry. Those are both parts of her, and I love both of those equally. And so for some parents, we do need to recognize, oh shit, maybe I've only been saying it out loud publicly because we're in a public setting, but in private, I never think I should recognize these things or immerse in that world and become a part of it. I think that might be overlooked with many parents. And it's something I'd like to bring attention to now because you might have been making a mistake and not even realizing it. If your kid likes to be quiet and you don't ever want to bring noise to him, it's okay for you to bring praise to a kid who's not really doing anything publicly. The praise from you is all they need. The connection, the love, the recognition from you in the home, that's what matters more than anything you can do out there, especially for a kid who just prefers solo activities.
yeah, no, that's an excellent point, Zach. We as parents we get caught in this trap where we condition our kids to perform or almost live based on outcomes, right? On what they're doing or what they're not doing. And I think we miss the big picture. And this is something that I've constantly tried to work on in my home is to, have that unconditional love that my kids know. I don't care if they succeed, if they fail, right? If they do something really cool, it's sure. Is it nice for me to say, "Hey, great job," you're awesome, but they don't need that from me, right? I don't need to come out and say that. Um, and that might sound harsh, but who they are, what they do is not based on my acceptance, right? Or my appreciation. They are their own people. And I'm saying this because they're older now, right? Of course, when they're 3 and they do something cool, I'm ecstatic, right? I'm over ecstatic. It's great to see. But what happens is as they get older, um, when you have those discussions and you talk to them about character and who you're becoming and who you are, and not allow people. to somewhat control you to fit into their mold. They grow up and they don't need that constant attention from somebody else to give themselves value, right? It's built internally. They have intrinsic motivation where everything they're doing is for them, and that's a key element, man, in making sure that your kids are gonna not only succeed in life, but they're gonna find other people who think the same, who feel the same, right? So you're gonna have a whole bunch of people coming together. Well, I shouldn't say a whole bunch, but you're going to have some people coming together and they're going to be internally motivated, right? They're going to know they're good people. They're going to want to go add value to the world and they're going to meet up with other people. And that is just going to expand and flourish. Instead of having people come together who need acceptance, who feel, have low self esteem, who aren't sure of what they're going to do. And then they're all, in like a 2 foot by 2 foot box bumping into each other, trying to figure out where the exit door is, right? So this is what we create when when we parent like shit, unfortunately.
Dude, that was very direct, but I love it, man. It's needed to be said. And you made me realize, I just connected a dot there. I was speaking to the parents who are just scrolling social media. Their child has to perform to give them content to share because they've stopped developing themselves and they're only a parent. And so therefore their only ability to contribute and show the world, hey, I'm here, is by saying, hey, look what my kid did.
Yeah.
And therefore they need the kid to go out and do something. And so their kid is giving them validation tokens to put into the fucking machine so they can get their likes and their retweets and their shares and all their favorites. And hey, you're such a great mom because your kid went out and did this thing. Not, hey, you're a great mom because you love your kid so much. It's interesting, man. When you really start peeling back these layers, I didn't think of that until you just said it. And I was like, man, that's why the parents, like, I am my own man. I'm a dad now. I mean, obviously, Open Rock Fatherhood, I'm huge on family and shit. But I'm doing so much for Zach that I don't need my kids to be my little dance monkeys. I get my own tokens. Like, literally, I just build them myself. I do the things of my work, and my mission helps me be better me, which I give to them. If you're a father or mother listening to this and you don't do anything for you, then understand your kids are your only connection to having any sort of achievement or any sort of mile or any accomplishment you can share with the world because you're not doing anything. Change that. Get those hobbies going. Get things going just for yourself. Before we hit record, I was talking about something my wife is working on. By herself in my living room right now. She's investing in her. The kids are doing their thing. We're having a good time. It's a rainy day here in North Carolina. Yeah, all right. Are you getting snow?
No, we rained all morning. The sun just came out, so.
All right. So hopefully that comes my way. Right now it's just rain. A lot of our Western brothers, from FOE, they're getting a lot of snow and having a great time. But us in the East Coast, we're getting whacked with all the wetness. But I mean, it highlights, the people who are doing things, they don't feel like their kids are props or pawns to be used in the chess piece of life. Whereas those who don't, that's all they have. And so therefore they're going to use it. Unintentionally, intentionally, consciously, subconsciously, it doesn't matter. It's happening. And the detriment is the child. You're getting your tokens at the expense of them to cash in their own.
Well said, brother. I don't have too much to add. I think it was a good episode. I enjoyed it.
That was solid. It's anybody that skips, how they will skip video, let me check out the end. That was a pretty hard hitting, final 5 minutes. You call them to the carpet. I love it, man. Introverted, extroverted, boy, girl, doesn't matter. Connect with your kid, find a way to enter their world, and understand there's nothing wrong with the kid who doesn't want to go out into there. Honestly, there might be a lot more right with them than you give them credit. And we were speaking earlier, a lot of mature kids, they're not entertained by the childlike things, so they don't participate in them. They have bigger thoughts. They have bigger things they're thinking of. Some kids just think that way. They go faster than their peers. Good. Put the challenges in front of them. It's good you read this book. Can you read that book? It's great that we're doing that. Hey, what would you like to learn about? And if they come up with some off the wall shit, cool. Let's go to the bookstore. Let's get a book on that thing that you're interested in. And you know what? I would love for you to explain it to me while we're headed there so I can learn myself. And bam, now your introverted kid is going to talk your ear off because you're there in their world listening what they're interested about. It's not about updates. It's about an upbringing. So if this resonated again, make sure you like and subscribe. If you're a man looking to immerse in a group of men, Fraternity of Excellence, link is below. You can join us. Anthony runs a call there weekly. It's a great session where guys can normalize the discussion of fatherhood and strip the taboo away. If you're a woman, I don't have anything for you except drop the comment below, shoot us a DM, and then we'll get something going there. But I mean, this is a great episode, Anthony, and I'm glad we had the talk because some of these are a little more difficult to navigate. because there's such a large emphasis on what right is. And everybody in the world is saying, well, it's not right to be introverted. You need to be an extrovert. You need to be out in the world. You need to go on social media. You need to share all these things and put it all in the world. Man, we're talking about real growth, real connection, real success, not just the perception of it. And so dicing that one up, it was good, man. I look forward to hearing the feedback from this one. For everybody else, this has been another episode on Oak and Rock Fatherhood. Stay present in your child's life. Until next episode, this is Zac and Anthony.